After yesterday's ruling that Julian Assange would not be extradited to the United States, many had hoped that it would also mean that he would be let out of prison on bail. But at least for now, bail has been rejected by the judge in the UK, and now the US officials are appealing the verdict that he is not extradited to the US. My name is Soran and welcome to the channel. So let's take a look at what's going on. So just in case you missed it, Julian Assange just a couple of days ago was told that by a judge in the UK that he would not be extradited to the US. And many had hoped that since he wouldn't be extradited, maybe he would be allowed to come out of prison on bail. But now, in this article, we have the decision that Julian Assange refused bail despite judge ruling against extradition to the US. Judge says WikiLeaks co-founder still has an incentive to abscond from these as yet unresolved proceedings. The article goes on to read that Julian Assange has been refused bail by a judge who this week rejected a US request to have him extradited to face espionage and hacking charges. The co-founder of WikiLeaks has been held at Belmarsh prison in southeast London for the past 18 months after he was evicted from the Ecuadorian embassy, where he sought asylum for 7 years. He spent 7 years in London in the embassy of Ecuador. 2 days after her ruling against the US extradition request, which is being challenged, District Judge Vanessa Barretzer said the 49-year-old still has an incentive to abscond from these as yet unresolved proceedings, and she was satisfied he would fail to surrender if bailed. As a matter of fairness, the US must be allowed to challenge my decision, said the judge, sitting at Westminster Magistrates Court after overseeing the extradition hearing at the Old Bailey earlier this week and last year. Assange had already demonstrated a willingness to flout the orders of the court, she said, and people who had previously put their trust in him and given sureties had been let down and had their money forfeited. She was also satisfied that his mental health was being managed at Belmarsh. So his mental health was actually the reason that the judge ended up deciding against the extradition. She basically said that the US had the legal rights in claiming that Julian Assange should have been extradited into the US, but at the end of the day, she wasn't sure that he would, if given over to US custody, actually commit suicide in their custody. So that's the main reason why she ended up deciding against the extradition in the first place. Making the bail application, Assange's lawyers said when he absconded 8 years ago to enter the Ecuadorian embassy was in totally different circumstances, and he now had the opportunity to be reunited in the UK with his partner and 2 young children. He would live at the address and wear an ankle tag. And that's a really good point. Julian Assange is in a much different position right now. He has a partner in the UK and he has 2 young children. I understand the argument that since he absconded last time, since he basically snuck away into the Ecuadorian embassy, she can't really trust that he won't do the same kind of thing again. But you have to understand that Julian Assange has just been through 8.5 years of pretty much isolation inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and now for the last, I think, 18 months within the prison in the UK in London as well. So he's been through a rough time. I think he's done running, especially if he's no longer in danger of being extradited into the US. I think that makes a huge difference, and that makes it more likely that he would just spend the remainder of his time with his partner and his kids in the UK at the end of the day. But obviously the US officials don't feel the same way. So this CNN article talks about how the US officials now, they say from Monday, the US government has 10 days to make a formal application to the UK High Court, where all extradition appeals are heard, according to Nick Vamos, a lawyer and former head of extradition at the UK's Crown Prosecution Service. So Mark Raimondi, acting director of the public affairs in the US Department of Justice, said in a statement on Monday that while we are extremely disappointed in the court's ultimate decision, we are gratified that the United States prevailed on every point of the law raised. And to be fair to the US Department of Justice, if they need anyone to be fair to them, they did succeed in the legal grounds that they want, the reasons they wanted Julian Assange to be extradited into the United States. But since his mental health state of mind was in such a poor state, obviously the judge ended up deciding against it, which you can understand given the recent track record of people given over to US custody and then conveniently committing suicide in their custody, right? Inside of their prisons, which is a very sad tendency. In particular, the court rejected all of Mr. Assange's arguments regarding political motivation, political offense, fair trial, and freedom of speech. So basically, at the end of the day, they do have legal rights to get Assange extradited into the United States, but I don't think they will succeed with this appeal. It'll be put forth now, and for like the next 10 days, they have time to gather the case, present it to the appeals court, but then probably it'll be thrown out since Julian Assange just has to prove that he's in a really poor mental condition and that he would be in danger of committing suicide if he was given over to the U.S. authorities, which I don't think is that difficult to prove if you're his lawyers, right? I thought this case was really interesting because Julian Assange is a case that shows you how adamant the US government is on getting back at you if you reveal information about them that's very damning. That's what Julian Assange did, both with the Hillary Clinton emails, revealed almost all of them, how she used her private server, but also with the US Army using all of these drone attacks to basically attack civilians. I think a stat was that like 85% of drone attacks would kill civilian, like 85% would be civilian casualties, and only 15% would be the intended targets. And Julian Assange exposed that with a lot of the videos that he somehow got a hand on and leaked to the press and leaked to social media. And obviously that's why a lot of people in power in the States want to get rid of him, or at the very least want to lock him up for good, so he doesn't do anything like that again. They want to make a clear example of him, like they did with Snowden as well. Snowden, who revealed this mass surveillance systems in the United States, monitoring all of its citizens illegally, by the way, against the rights of the people. That was a massive reveal, and Snowden got tracked down, and the US tried to get a hold on him so hard that he had to go to Russia, of all places, and hide out for until now. He's still in Russia, hiding out from the US government. Julian Assange won't be extradited, I believe, and so I understand that there's a fear in the US officials that he could do something of the same sort again. But I think after these 7 or 8 years in isolation, I just think that he basically had enough, right? But it does show you how scary the US government is when you leak, by the way, legit information. The information and videos that Julian Assange leaked to the press and to social media, it was never contested by anyone. It was always just claimed to be, damning to the government, and so he needed to get out of the way. It's such a crazy, it's taken out of a spy movie, but we just kind of read the headlines. We don't really dive into it, but now obviously he won't get bail, but at some point he will come out of prison. And I expect him to serve, a couple of more years, then maybe be given a chance again. But the good news here is that he's not going to be extradited. That's very good news, because I don't think a lot of people who's looked into this has any doubts of what's going to happen to Assange if he was put in some faraway prison in the United States where you would never probably hear from him again, right? I thought it was a really interesting case, but it seems like he doesn't really get everything that he wanted. He doesn't get bail, which he would be able to pay probably right away through crowdfunding. The final aspect I'm going to bring up is how a lot of the public, both in the UK but also in the US, are very for Assange. They're very much trying to fight his case. The same with Snowden, but you don't see the government carrying out the will of the people. It's the government has its own will, and they're trying to come after someone where pretty much most of the public is in favor of the person, but the government is just relentlessly, ruthlessly trying to lock these people away. That kind of tells you a scary tale of where the government is headed. And that's why, especially in these times with the pandemic and everything, we need to keep a close eye on what the government is doing. So I won't get too conspiratorial, but thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. And oh, by the way, remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already to not miss out on future videos. Have a great day, guys. Have a great day, guys, and take care.